It was Christmas Eve. Snow fell in thick, silent waves over the sprawling glass mansion that sat at the top of Willow Hill. Inside, every single light was on, yet the place felt painfully empty, like a grand stage where the main actor never showed up. Ethan Walker, the CEO of Walker Industries, sat by the enormous fireplace, staring at the untouched plate of cookies his housekeeper had set out before leaving for the holidays. He'd told her to go home, to be with her family. He always did. Everyone deserved company on Christmas except, apparently, him. For 5 long years, Ethan had spent every Christmas Eve completely alone. He had all the money in the world, fame, a calendar so packed it barely left him room to breathe, but not a single person to share the warmth of the fire with. He'd lost that chance long ago, the night he chose his career over his family. His wife had left, and their unborn child was lost in a tragic accident soon after. Since then, every holiday had become a ghost that haunted him, a painful reminder of what he'd thrown away. He glanced at the clock, 10:37 p.m. The world outside was hushed, save for the faint, distant sound of carolers. He sighed, rubbing his temples, when suddenly a knock echoed through the empty hall. He frowned. No one ever came up here. The long, winding driveway was private property. The knock came again, softer this time, followed by the muffled, shivering voice of a woman. "Hello? I'm so sorry to bother you, sir. We need some help." Ethan hesitated. His first instinct was to ignore it. But something in her voice, a mix of desperation and politeness, made him move. He opened the heavy oak door to find a woman standing there, her face flushed from the biting cold. Her coat was thin, and her scarf looked hand-knit and well-worn. Beside her stood a little girl, no older than 6, clutching a small basket wrapped in red cloth. Snowflakes clung to her eyelashes as she stared up at him with wide, hopeful eyes. "I'm so sorry," the woman said, her breath forming a cloud in the icy air. "Our car broke down a few miles back. We've been walking for hours. My daughter was freezing, and this was the only house we saw with lights on." Ethan's cold, guarded exterior softened almost instantly. He looked from the shivering mother to the wide-eyed child. "Come in," he said, his voice softer than he intended, as he stepped aside. The warmth of the fire welcomed them, and the little girl's eyes sparkled as she took in the massive Christmas tree that stood by the window, adorned with shimmering, lifeless ornaments. "Wow," she whispered, her voice full of awe. "It's so pretty." Her mother smiled apologetically. "Thank you, sir. This is Lily." "Ethan," he replied simply, already handing them both thick, warm blankets from a nearby chest. As the snowstorm howled outside, a protective barrier between them and the rest of the world, Sarah explained her story. She worked 2 jobs just to support Lily, one as a waitress, the other cleaning offices late at night. They had been on their way to her sister's house for Christmas when their old car finally gave up. The basket Lily carried was meant to be a gift for her Anta, a few homemade cookies, and a small angel ornament they had crafted together. Ethan noticed Lily holding onto the basket as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. "What's in there, sweetheart?" he asked gently, kneeling down to her level. Lily beamed, her smile lighting up the entire room. "It's for whoever we meet on Christmas Eve," Mommy says. Giving is magic. Ethan's heart clenched. He hadn't felt that word magic in years. Lily carefully unwrapped the cloth and, to his surprise, handed him the small handmade angel. "You look lonely, mister. Maybe she'll help you not be." He swallowed hard, unable to find his voice for a moment. The little angel was made of paper and glue. Its wings were uneven, and its smile was slightly crooked. But in that moment, it was the most perfect thing he had ever seen because it was made with love, a currency he had long forgotten. They stayed the night. Ethan insisted it was too dangerous to go back out. Soon, Sarah was making hot cocoa in his state-of-the-art kitchen, filling the cold space with a warmth it hadn't known in years. Lily sat by the fire, humming Christmas songs off-key, her small voice cutting through the mansion's silence. And to his own astonishment, Ethan found himself laughing, an actual, genuine laugh. It felt foreign but so incredibly natural at the same time. At one point, Sarah noticed a photo frame turned face down on the mantelpiece. She walked over and quietly, respectfully, placed it upright. It was a picture of a much younger Ethan and a beautiful woman, her hand resting gently on a rounded belly. You lost her, didn't you? Sarah asked softly, her voice full of a gentle understanding that disarmed him completely. He could only nod. Both of them. Since then, I stopped celebrating Christmas. I couldn't bear the lights, the songs, any of it. Sarah placed a comforting hand over his. Sometimes the people we lose send others to remind us what love feels like again. He looked at her, hurriedly looked at her, and saw, not pity, but profound empathy. And for the first time in 5 years, the hollow ache in his chest began to ease just a little. The next morning the storm had passed, leaving the world draped in a pristine blanket of white. Sarah was ready to call for a tow truck, but Ethan insisted on driving them himself in his luxury SUV. Before they left, Lily tiptoed over to his magnificent tree and carefully placed another handmade angel on one of its branches. "So you won't be lonely next Christmas," she said with a bright giggle. Ethan smiled, blinking back tears he didn't know were there. "Like you, Lily. I'll keep her safe." As he dropped them off at her sister's modest home, Sarah turned to him. "You're welcome to join us for dinner tonight. My sister would love the company. We don't have much, but there's always room for one more." He hesitated for only a second, the old habit of solitude fighting against this new, unfamiliar warmth. Then he nodded. "I'd like that very much." That night, Ethan found himself sitting at a small, crowded dining table filled with laughter, mismatched plates, and the comforting smell of cinnamon and baked bread. There were no expensive decorations, no polished chandeliers, but there was a richness here he hadn't found in all his wealth. There was warmth, laughter, and something he hadn't felt in so long, a sense of belonging. Lily, her belly full of Christmas dinner, climbed onto his lap, grinning from ear to ear. "See? I told you Christmas is magic," Ethan chuckled, his eyes glistening as he hugged her close. "Yes, sweetheart." You were right. From that Christmas onward, Ethan was never alone again. He spent every Christmas with Sarah and Lily, his new family, the one that had found him when he'd stopped believing in miracles. And on his grand mantelpiece, right next to that old photograph, stood 2 paper angels. One, a little crooked and faded with time. The other brand new, made by a grown-up Lily years later. Each Christmas he would look at them and whisper, "Thank you for knocking on my door." Because sometimes the greatest miracles don't come wrapped in gold or glitter. They arrive quietly, on a snowy night, in the form of kindness, warmth, and the promise of a second chance. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like and subscribe for more content that warms the soul. We'll see you in the next video.